What's going on, everyone? Don and Ellie here. Thank you again for checking out this new video. If you caught my video last week, you'll know that I'm doing a bunch of different overviews and different, like, my general thoughts on different genres within, horror and stuff like that. Last week I discussed slashers. Today I'm going to be doing anthologies. This is going to be another big one for me. I'm a huge anthology fan. Probably not, one of my all-time favorite styles. I really like the approach that they can use with these. You get various different tactics. You get various different kind of storylines. You can do films about psychological thrillers. You can get a monster movie. You can get a slasher. You can get like some kind of karmic revenge setup, and you get 20-30 minutes. Bam, you're out onto the next one. Stuff like that is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. Not necessarily, much else to go on there. Not like with the first, like, slashers last time where I was able to do, like, my own personal taste on the matter. It's kind of one of those, cut and dry kind of things. So basically, I thought I would just do, like, not necessarily do in-depth reviews of any of these kinds of films, but just do, hit a couple that I think should be worthwhile and you should check out. Not necessarily, like I said, full on reviews, but just hey, these are good, check them out. So the first one that I want to mention is from 1945, called Dead of Night. I think a lot of people call it the first anthology, but there's actually an earlier one from 1928 or 29, I want to say. It's a German film. I really wish I knew what it was, but I haven't seen it, so I can't say. That one is considered like the first anthology film ever made. But Dead of Night is probably the one that a lot of people have seen. So, general setup for this one is this doctor goes out to this farmhouse to check on a patient, and she reveals various nightmares that she's had that's kept her from sleeping, which ends up being the setup for the various stories that are told because they're her nightmares. A lot of people tend to claim the last one as their favorite, which involves this ventriloquist doll that plays a big deal in the proceedings. Rightfully so. It's my own personal favorite segment in the story too. But the other segments are a lot of fun. There's one involving a group of guys at a golf resort that's kind of memorable. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. I don't have much negative to say about that one. It's really kind of cool and creepy. There's some good imagery inside. You get like a couple of really good stories. I think like the first two are actually just as good, if not as good, as the final segment with the doll. I'm trying to remember the order because I think the order is it depends on which version of the film you see, because I think the American version flips a couple of the stories or trims it or does something. I can't remember, but yeah, there's a difference between the American and the British films, the British version of the film, because I like I said, I don't know the difference, but I think one of them is, a couple of them are flipped and one of them is trimmed or something like that. So I don't remember the middle ones, but like I said, the last one is the one with the ventriloquist doll, and that's the one everyone always remembers. So that one is, like the big one because it's, the final, it's the twist. So that one, like I said, go ahead and check that one out. Next up that I really want to mention is probably one of my top 5 favorite anthologies, Black Sabbath. Now, yeah, that's where they took the name from. It was it's the first one that I can think of that's actually directed by one person, Mario Bava. Dead of Night and a couple of the other ones, they had various directors helming each of the individual segments, so it's it's a collaborative. Those are collaborative projects. This is the first one that's actually dependent on one person doing it, which is one of the reasons why it stands out for me. Because it's Bava's signature across all three stories. Yeah, it's a three-story segment. First story, again, actually, I want to point this out that it depends on what version of the film you see. The American version and the Italian version vary greatly. So the American version, it has. I'm trying to see if I can remember this here. The American version starts off with a segment called "A Drop of Water," which that one is actually the last segment in the Italian version. The Italian version, so "Drop of Water" is basically a woman steals a ring from this dead woman's ring that she used to be a caretaker for, and she gets haunted by her ghostly spirit. It is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. Anyone who knows what the dead woman looks like, yeah, you're gonna completely agree on that one. The second segment in the American anthology is a segment called "The Telephone," which is the first segment in the Italian version. Basically, a woman gets home from work and is being tormented by mysterious phone calls. There's more to it than that, but again, saying anything more would give it anything away. If you listen to the first one, and it's obviously a Tales from the Crypt, karma comes back and gets you, kind of a storyline. The second one is actually kind of it's a nice little giallo-esque kind of segment. So it's one of like the first times that Bava played with giallo. He did Evil Eye, or The Girl Who Knew Too Much, the year before. So this was another one that's kind of like early giallo-ish kind of a thing. And then the final segment is the Verdelac, which is the middle segment in the Italian version. So, like I said, the American version goes Drop of Water, Telephone, Verdelac. The Italian version goes Telephone, Verdelac, A Drop of Water. So in Verdelac, this man arrives at this strange farmhouse out in the countryside, claiming to need shelter for the evening, and ends up tearing the family apart. There's a clue to that. If you know what it is, it's in the title. I'll just say that. Again, amazing stuff. I don't have anything bad to say about any of the segments. It's an all-time classic and definitely one that needs to be watched. The next one is Kwaidan, which is a Japanese anthology. It's one of those that a lot of people don't really know, but I absolutely love it. I have so much fun with this. Obviously it's a Japanese one. It kind of plays a little fast and loose with the Japanese term for ghost story, which is kaidan, which is the actual Japanese translation. We added the W for BS reasons or whatever. I don't know. American tampering at its best, I guess. But again, this is another heavily edited one, depending on what version you watch. The American version actually trims out one of the segments completely. I believe it's the third segment called Oichi the Earless, or Hirochi the Earless. I can't remember what his actual name is. It's either Orochi or Hirochi. I can't remember because it's been a while since I've seen it, so you'll have to forgive me on that one. But basically, the rest of the story is various Japanese ghost stories. I'm not a huge fan of the first story. It's kind of weak and it's not really all that good. But the other three stories, especially like I said, if you've seen the Japanese version, there's 4. If you've seen the American version, there's 3. The other 3 stories are really good. The second story involves a man who is saved during a snowstorm by this mysterious woman, and nurses him back to health and sends him back on his way, but forbids him from telling anything about what happened that night. And basically, he goes back to his home. He ends up falling with this woman and spends the rest of his life with her, and then karma comes back and gets him. Strangely enough, if you've actually seen the film Tales from the Dark Side, one of the segments in that is actually very, very, very heavily inspired by this story. I believe it's the one with the gargoyle, I believe. If memory serves, I think that's what it is. Um, but yeah, it's really good. Like I said, especially if you've seen the Tales from the Dark Side segment, it's like I said, it's basically very heavily inspired, so it's kind of the same story. So you know where it's going if you've seen that one, but just always remember Quite On was the first one because that's from the '60s. Tales from the Dark Side is 1990, I think. Like I said, the third one is Hirochi the Earless, which was basically cut out because it's nearly an hour long, so it like beefed up the running time. So they trimmed it down just to not make the film like nearly 3 hours, which it was in the original Japanese incarnation. And then the last one is kind of a variation on Yatsuya Kaidan, which is a very, very popular Japanese ghost story. Um, a man ends up killing his wife to climb the social ladder, and then as soon as he moves on to his new wife, he starts seeing his ghost. He starts seeing her ghost essentially. So it plays on the Yatsuya Kaidan storyline a lot. I'm not gonna say too much more, just so that way I want you guys to check it out and watch it. Um, obviously, if I'm gonna talk anthologies, I'm gonna discuss a little on Amicus. There's absolutely no reason not to, but I'm not gonna go in depth on those because I really want to go through them one at a time and do like a rundown on each of those kind of storylines at some point. Um, but I absolutely love them. Doctor Terror's House of Horrors, Torture Garden, From Beyond the Grave, Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Asylum. Yeah, I could go on and on with on all of those. Each of those are completely recommended, and no, they're highly enjoyable. I can't say enough good things about those. So just check out any of the Amicus anthologies. God, that was more difficult than I thought. But yeah, definitely you want to check those out. Again, uh, you know, talking anthologies, you got to mention Creepshow 1 and 2. I'm not going to run in depth on those. It, you know, one of the all time classics, still, like I said, highly recommended, and one of the, maybe if not even like the top anthology, like one of the best films in the genre period. I really love Creepshow. It's a classic. But one of the things that I really wanted to mention, just like in passing before I run out here, is something to really check out is this anthology series. It's actually a series from the Philippines known as Shake, Rattle, and Roll. The first one came out in 1984, and it was the Philippine equivalent to Tales from the not Tales from the Crypt, Philippine equivalent to Creepshow, where a bunch of top genre directors got together and did short stories, like 30-40 minutes short films. Um, it's not really going to mean much to American audiences based on who they are, but look at it as the Philippine equivalent of gathering Wes Craven, George Romero, and John Carpenter together and having them do Creepshow with George Romero. Like, instead of Romero doing Creepshow by himself, imagine if you had the each of the other direct segments directed by one of the biggest directors in the genre. Like, that's where Shake, Rattle, and Roll came from. Now, I haven't seen all of them because one, there's 15 official entries. I think there's a couple of others out there that are like loosely inspired by them, but there's like 15 official entries in the series, and most of them haven't made it to America. So not necessarily one that's really easy to track down, but if you can check them out, I've seen I know for a fact I've seen the first four. I've seen the first four entries. I want to say because they kind of start like playing around with the titles, and they start like doing like weird things with the titles like around like 6 and 7. I want to say I've seen either 7 or 8. I don't remember because they kind of, one is sort of like a rebirth kind of a thing where they do like the year it came out. So instead of Shake, Rattle, and Roll Part 6, it's like Shake, Rattle, and Roll 2005 or 6. Um, so yeah, like I said, just because there's not a whole lot of information available in English because they haven't made it here, or like, there's like a huge demand, so there's not, an easily available subtitle version. I'm not a huge, I don't really know that much about it, but overall, I would say, because I've seen like a couple of them and they're really, really fun. They're really good. They play with a lot of like local folklore and a lot of Philippine legends and fairy tales and stuff like that. A couple of others touch on like, modern stuff. So it's not like, set off in the jungle where it's like, weird, like what's going on kind of a thing. But more, like local karma comes back to get you kind of stuff. So if you can find them, I definitely recommend checking them out. I know that there's a lot of recent anthologies that have come out. I mean, way too many to name. Um, uh, I know for a fact one just actually got released was 1031 Part 2, which just came out actually last Friday, now that I mention it. Following up on the original one, which I think both of those were crowdfunded anthologies. But yeah, there's Volumes of Blood. There's oh god, I'm struggling to remember just because there's like so many that are coming out recently, like Weird Fiction or uh yeah, I'm struggling here. So yeah, it's a huge, it's a big thing, recently, like especially in indies to do anthologies. Um, so I know that there's a lot of them out there. Some probably not so much. I mentioned Creepshow 1 and 2 for a reason. If you know, you know. But yeah, I think just I'm gonna end it there for now. Giving you guys a couple of good suggestions to check out. Again, if you want to know more about this stuff, you can always check out my site, dogshorrorworld.blogspot.com. I got a link in the description below. And yeah, check out my channel, check out some of the other stuff on there, and see you guys next time.